I met Colonel West a couple years ago when he was in D.C., and it's just an honor to meet this patriot. One thing I like about Allen and I, we talk occasionally when we happen to bump each other when we meet. One thing I like about Allen is this: he doesn't compromise. Amen. He won't compromise his values. He won't compromise his principles. I put it this way: he's not a political chump. He's a Christian champion. I like that. So my friend, please come up. Colonel Allen West.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Kcarl, Derrick, and everyone, it's truly an honor to be here. Welcome to my neighborhood, my little backyard. It's good to see you all, because on a Friday night there are many different places that you could be, but the fact that you are here is a true testimony to your belief about what we need to do in this great nation. And why are we here tonight? You know, this young man right over here, Joshua. How old is Joshua? Joshua, come here for a minute. Mom, bring Joshua up for here. Come on. This is why we're here tonight. That's right. Joshua, say hey to all these people. Don't worry, give him a few years. Yeah, he will come and take the microphone. But see, Joshua, in February the 7th of 1961, that was me. And see, truth transcends color and enables me to stand here before you today. Enables me to have been born in that inner city neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia, the son of a man who was a corporal in World War II and had an older son who was a simple lance corporal in the United States Marine Corps, who ended up having a second son who became a lieutenant colonel and commander of a battalion in combat, who now has a grandson who was a major in the United States Army, following the exact same footsteps. See, that's how you go from Joshua to his future. The problem that we have when we talk about strategy, how do we turn this thing around, how do we fix it? I'm going to give you 2 points. First of all, you can't go back on your heels when people call you a racist. Yeah. Because see, when people are calling you a racist, that means that's the last line of defense, that you have won the debate, you have won the argument, and they are trying to do something that gets you to self-censor. Mm-hmm. And most people will self-censor because they don't want to hear that word. You have to become empowered. You have to understand that you're on the right track when they say that R word. Because it's very Pavlovian. If you don't know about Pavlov's experiment, you should go and read it. Okay? If you continue to reward negative and bad behavior, you will get more of that negative and bad behavior. If you continue to reward people for calling you a racist and shutting up, then guess what? They're going to continue to call you a racist. Exactly what Kcarl was talking about. See, I don't think conservative is a bad word. That's what we're going to discuss here for a few moments. I think conservative is a great word. And why do I think conservative is a great word? Because when Ronald Reagan ran, and he created a complete delineation and separation between his vision for America, the shining city that sits upon a hill, is morning in America. He won 44 out of 50 states when he ran against Jimmy Carter. When he ran for re-election, he won 49 out of 50 states. Now, there's something wrong in Minnesota, okay? I don't know what's up with those Viking people. You know, like Jesse Ventura, they got Al Franken up there. But Ronald Reagan gave people an American message. And the problem is that we have allowed other people, the progressive socialists, whatever you want to call them, not liberals, because truly conservatism is classical liberalism. You don't believe it? Go back and read a simple man from England by the name of John Locke, the second treatise of government. But see, the thing about us as a Republican Party, we must know our own history. And if we know our own history, then truth will transcend color. And you will be successful just the same as Ronald Reagan was successful. You will secure a future for young Joshua. Because what happens when you don't know why the Republican Party was established in 1854. The Republican Party was not established just to end slavery. The Republican Party was established for the single principle of making sure that Thomas Jefferson's words in the Declaration of Independence came to fruition. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed with certain inalienable rights, not from man. Because if man is the giver of your rights, he can also take them away. It was to create, and of these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. See, the thing is that the Republican Party was established in 1854 to break the shackles of physical bondage. And in breaking the shackles of physical bondage, the first members, black men who walked on Capitol Hill, they were not Democrats. The first 7 of those incredible men, a great book called Capital Men, they were all Republicans. As a matter of fact, most people here in the state of Florida could not tell you before me who was the last black Republican to be in Congress. And if you don't know that, then truth can never transcend color. His name was Josiah T. Walls, Reconstruction, 1874 to 1876. When you have that type of truth, that's powerful. When you are able to stand up and tell people, go look at the movie Lincoln and see who are the ones that fought to ensure the 13th Amendment went through. It weren't those other guys. The party of slavery, the party of secession, the party of segregation. It were people that decided that they had to break the bonds, the chains of physical bondage. And in doing so, the early civil rights legislation was passed by the Republican Congress all the way up until the turn of the century in the 1900s. And at that time, at the turn of the century, when the Democrats took over, then they introduced things like Jim Crow and segregation. And we saw lynchings come about. But even still, there was one man. I know Kcarl is all over Frederick Douglas. This is the guy that I really love. I believe that this man is the father of black conservatism. Because this is not a trend. This is not something new. But when you study the writings of Booker T. Washington, the fact that he was a black man that spoke in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, at the Southern Exposition, and understand, there was no other face that looked like him in that audience. And Booker T. Washington stood up and promoted 3 principles: education, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance. I don't think that's what the present-day Democrat Party is selling. That was the beginning of truly understanding how was a black community so beaten down by Jim Crow and segregation supposed to be successful. Madam C.J. Walker, the first black female millionaire in the United States of America. How did she get to be successful? Because of education, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance. But who did the Democrat Party promote against the message of Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois? Because they believed you could agitate, if you could get, the black community. We don't want self-reliance. We want reliance. And that is the difference. That is the truth that transcends color. And even when you go through time and you go through history, you understand that during the Eisenhower administration, who was the person that federalized the National Guard and told them to go down to Little Rock, Arkansas, so that 9 black children could go to school? It was a Republican president. Who was the same person that brought up civil rights legislation during his term, but it was voted down by Democrat senators like John F. Kennedy, Al Gore Sr., and the Grand Poobah of the Klan, Mr. Robert Byrd. Eisenhower brought up civil rights legislation. But see, the thing is, we stopped talking that message. We stopped talking about the truth. We lost that connection. When Richard Milhouse Nixon had a great opportunity to call Coretta Scott King because her husband was sitting in the jail in Birmingham, he refused to do so. And in refusing to do so, John F. Kennedy did and got the credit for it. So that I can tell you, and some of y'all may remember growing up in a black household down south, there were 3 pictures up on the wall. There was Jesus, Martin Luther King Jr., and John F. Kennedy. And that's how it was for quite some time. And even after Kennedy's assassination, then Lyndon Johnson came in. And Lyndon Johnson, through the Great Society programs 50 years ago, understood this is how I will get this community to vote for me forever. And he said that on Air Force One. He used a very derogatory word to to say that I will have them voting for us for the next 200 years. Well, we're 50 years into it right now, because he understood it wasn't about self-reliance, it was about reliance. It was not about independence, as the young man said, it was about dependence. And lo and behold, we fell for that. When he said you can give a woman a check for having a child out of wedlock, and as long as she never had a man in the home, then all of a sudden the greatest power in the black community, the family, was destroyed. The out-of-wedlock birth rate back 50 years ago in the United States of America was 6%. The out-of-wedlock birth rate today in America is close to 43%. The out-of-wedlock birth rate in the Hispanic community is 56%. In the black community, the out-of-wedlock birth rate is 72%. That was not Republicans that did that. That was a progressive socialist Democrat that did that. The civil rights legislation that passed in 1964 was not going to be successful. But there was a Republican senator by the name of Frederick Douglas that safeguarded that legislation and got it through the Senate. Robert Byrd didn't want it. Al Gore Sr. did not want it. See, that's how truth transcends color. And truth is a powerful thing. Because when you look at all of the major urban centers in the United States of America, you look at the Chicagos, you look at the Detroits, you look at the Philadelphias, you go back to my neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia, and you see what has happened on Auburn Avenue. It's not because of Republican leadership, it's not because of conservative leadership, it's because of the leadership of reliance. And see, today now the Republican Party was once called upon to break those shackles of physical bondage, we're called upon to break the shackles of economic bondage. To once again restore entrepreneurship, to once again restore self-reliance, to once again restore education. See, the truth that transcends power, that no one talked about in April 2009 when the first black president of the United States of America canceled the DC school voucher program. He said young, deserving black children are not good enough to go to these quality schools, but yet my kids, Malia and Sasha, will be going to the very venerable and prestigious Sidwell Friends. See, truth transcends power when you understand that the first black attorney general of the United States of America, Eric Holder, brought a lawsuit against the state of Louisiana for their school choice program. Where was our voice to stand up and say, truth transcends color? When you have the avowed socialist mayor of New York City, I know we got a lot of transplanted New Yorkers here, but when he stood up and said, I'm going to shut down charter schools, that included one of the highest performing schools in the city of New York, Success Academy in Harlem. And who was it that went and protested to Governor Cuomo? Single black mothers. Single black mothers who wanted an equality of opportunity. They wanted better education choices for their children because they know, as this mother right here knows, that's the key. So that this young man goes from sitting there in that chair to standing up here in front of each and every one of you. But that's not what the other side wants. See, and if we don't go out there with courage and resolve and competence, character, to deliver that message, then the other side hears only one message. We stop talking to the black community. We stop talking to the Hispanic community. I hate the word outreach. Outreach means that you show up in Black History Month, you have some fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread, some mashed potatoes, some macaroni and cheese, some sweet tea. You sing "We Shall Overcome," and then the next thing you know, they don't see you again until 2 months before the election. Outreach is not successful. You need to have policy inclusiveness. You need to be down there talking to people about faith, freedom, God, education, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance, and remind them where that came from. Truth can transcend color. Now, are you going to win over an entire community? No. But if you can go in and get 30%, 35% in the black community and the Hispanic community, that's an incredible step. And let me tell you something, because this is something that a lot of people don't understand. The young man back here is Haitian. I'm married to a Jamaican. I'm just an old, dumb Southern boy from down in Georgia. There are three different perspectives. Haitians and Jamaicans, West Indians, they believe in individualism and the ruggedness thereof. They did not come here to this great land of opportunity to live off of government. We can make inroads into those communities, but we don't. Because unfortunately, we just kind of lump everyone together. We can't do that anymore. You see despair, right? But how is it that a kid can do very well and rise up through high school football team out there like Benny Blaze did, go to the University of Miami, and the next thing you know, he's a pro football player? Then why can't we do the same thing by stressing education as a means by which they can have success? Truth can transcend color, but you first and foremost must know the truth, have the courage and the resolve to go out there and profess it. God bless you all, and thank you.